We're your sensational hosts, Drusilla and Gilsey.
Hello.
Welcome to Moon Moment, the podcast where we discuss the Sailor Moon canon for what we affectionately call, you've probably guessed it by now, it's Moon Moments.
Moments that we feel exemplify what Sailor Moon stands for and represents. So now, without further ado, let's get ready to rumble!
Woo!
In this corner are badass babes and their reincarnated rabbit. They've already died once, but that didn't stop them. It's the Sailor Scouts! In the other corner, the fatal fashionistas from the future. They're just as likely to stab each other in the back as their opponents, probably with a stiletto. The Spectre Sisters! Ding ding! Still spoiling for a fight? We've got a great opportunity as Mamo-rage continues to put the ass in Jackass while doing everything he can to hurt Usagi. But what's this? Challengers approach. Get your tickets for Mars vs. Cohen and Mercury vs. Birdier. You've never seen a fight like these before. So,
that was amazing.
68 through 71.
That was so good. Oh my god. I love it. I'm so proud.
I'm glad. So, moon moments. I had one, you had none.
Yep. Okay, they're like up for discussion moon moments. I can see why they would be a moon moment, but I can also see why they wouldn't be a moon moment. I guess we'll see when the time comes, but for this first episode, I did not have any moon moments. It was more of Chibi Uso, why can't you be grateful to Usagi at least once?
And this episode, I will first off say, in my brain, that's such a weird way to say that.
Where else would you think?
I remembered this being a bit more battle heavy, but episode starts with a bedwetting, which the Deke dub completely cuts out. I don't know why. But this episode, I think it's one of those episodes that make people dislike Chibiusa. And I think the Deke dub made people dislike her a lot more. Like, I'm finding that I like her a little bit better in the Japanese version, but she's still a little brat. And I think it's episodes like this. Yes, she crawled into bed with Usagi because she's lonely. Mm-hmm. And she wet the bed because she's a kid, and kids wet the bed. Mm-hmm. At the same time, we can totally be on Usagi's side.
And plus her brother doesn't even believe that she didn't wet the bed.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, I don't know, is it cool to have a little kid help you out in that kind of situation? Or, I don't know if that's like a parenting faux pas.
I feel like Chibiusa should have at least been, hey, I'm sorry for wetting the bed, or something like that. Or just acknowledge it in some way that Usagi was the one that was taking care of it, washing the sheets and all of that. Mm-hmm. But nothing. There's nothing. She just kind of ran out. Yeah, that was it. Like, also, Usagi was taking the brunt of it all.
Yeah, it's also not a great episode in the sense that it's very confusing as to what people know. It feels like no one knows their history. Because in this episode, Rini is told by someone she calls Pooh that the Sailor Scouts that are protecting her are the scouts in the future. And we've come back to this before. Like, I've had a problem with not being clear on what does Rini know? Why does she not put the fact together that if Sailor Moon doesn't exist in the future, but Sailor Moon has the crystal, and her mom in the future has the crystal, it just... And then on top of that, the bad guys also don't seem to know their own history. They're looking for these crystal points, and particularly in episode 71, Rubius says something like, I found another crystal point.
Right.
And I'm thinking, if you find one, can't you find all of them? Because they're fixed points. It's just Crystal Tokyo, the palace is a star, basically, and maybe beyond that you have more points, but you should be able to take an image of Crystal Tokyo and overlay current Tokyo and figure out where these are. It seems, I mean, I know this is just, can't have bad guys be too smart in shows.
I mean, there is a character that's literally called Wise Man.
Mm-hmm.
So you would think the Wise Man character would be wise, but really it's just like a bunch of cryptic, oh, you need to get to these points.
Mm-hmm. And it's never explained fully who the Black Moon Clan are. At least I don't think so. I haven't reached this point in the manga, so I'm not 100% sure. I think the manga says something along the lines of when Queen Serenity brought peace, there were still some people who were discontent and who were kind of rabble-rousing, and so they were exiled, and they eventually found what they call the Black Moon. And I think it plays a bigger role in the manga than the anime, but this dark crystal, this black crystal that's on it. And I think from at least the anime, going by that logic, this was several generations past.
Yeah.
And so the Black Moon Clan now are not the ones that were exiled from Earth. So maybe they wouldn't know this, the history and, that sort of thing. And the Deke version gives a line to Rubius in this episode. He calls them, because it's this episode where Wise Man tells him that they launched an attack on the Crystal Palace, and they encountered basically a force field around the palace. He says that it's energy being generated by like 4 warriors, and we see the show shows us them, and it's obviously the Sailor Scouts, and it's very obviously our Sailor Scouts. But in the Deke version, Rubius says that must be the Sailor Scouts of the future. It sounds very familiar. We could be dealing... He doesn't say this, but the idea is like we're dealing with their predecessors, which is a very cool thought. But like I said, we've already seen that the Sailor Scouts of the future in this, and the sort of flashbacks that Rini has, those are the same scouts. So
yeah, right.
I think the reveal that Neo Queen Serenity is actually Usagi would have hit a little bit harder if we hadn't already been basically told. Yeah, basically told.
Or at least maybe if the scouts of the future had different hairstyles, maybe if Ami's hair were a little longer, or Mako wasn't wearing her hair in a ponytail, something like that. Little changes where it could be enough so it might be someone else, but basically the same color palette, and it's like, okay, it is them, but they're just aged up.
And also,
but they really look the same.
Yeah, and you don't see them, their future selves, like in the anime, with the exception of Rini's flashback. Should be useless flashback. And the scene of them holding hands back to back, using their energy to protect the palace. Those are the only times I think you see them. So it's not like it would have been a hassle to have made those changes.
Yeah, exactly.
But I also think they could have just, the scenes with Rini, they could have just not shown you their heads, just shown you their backs. And obviously the Sailor Fukus are, like, they're obviously Sailor Scouts, and just have a very hazy or maybe just black out. You see the uniforms, but you just make their face and their arm like just black. So it's like a void, and so you just see... Anyway, we spent way too long on this episode already, but it was... it's pretty awesome because first of all, I love the style of the flashbacks. It's like a color pencil, sort of. It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's very pretty.
I love them. And the actual fight between the Spectre Sisters and the Scouts, is awesome. Like, seeing attacks in real time. I will try to find the link and post it in our show notes, but someone posted a video to Twitter a while back that we retweeted that showed attacks in Sailor Moon that happen in real time. And so it's not just Usagi saying Moon healing escalation and it's a static image hitting the monster and having them yell refresh. Like, you see it in motion, or seeing an attack from Jupiter streak across the field toward the enemy. It is so cool to see attacks like that in real time. And we get that here during this fight. But, I mean, I don't want to spend more time on this. Like, I like this episode. It's just...
the other episodes are better.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not the next episode.
Oh god, the next episode... I have in my notes no moon moment, but a lot of Mamo-rage.
Mm.
First of all, Mamoru, babe, why are you making people... First of all, why are you... Oh my god, I'm so mad. Okay, hold on. Why would you make Usagi think that you are seeing another girl? 2, why would you even think to try to play with another girl's feelings when it shows that she likes you, this waiter? And then we find out later in the episode that this is Mamoru's little sister. Just
Matoki's
disregarding
little
that.
sister.
Oh, it's the little... Okay. But also, like, even if it is his best friend's little sister, disregarding that and knowing that she has a boyfriend and everything, would you have taken some random female waitress and played with her feelings just so that you could have Usagi off your back? No. This is another person. This is another person that would obviously likes you. You can't just use other people for your own benefits, you dick.
Well, I think I didn't read it as he was playing with her feelings. I think it really was him just giving her a ride home. He was just doing her a favor. The thing is, the chances, the episode sets it up as Mamoru is doing this on purpose, because he asked Matoki, what do you do to get a girl to dislike you? And then the little sister comes up, I can't remember her name, but plan probably formed in her mind, if it looks like I have another girl with me, maybe Usagi will back off. So when he says, okay, I'll give you a ride home, I think he was just doing it to be nice. However, the chances of them running into Usagi on the way home, he had to have driven around Tokyo looking for Usagi, so that makes him even more of a dick.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just taking it as, because we don't know who this person is, we just know that she is a waitress. And so just knowing that, and maybe this waitress thinks I'm cute, or maybe he asks, maybe when are you done with your shift? Maybe we could hang out. I was just taking it as that, and then leading her on. Mm-hmm. And then you find out later in the episode, okay, like she's related to... But that's still a douchey move, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's so painful for Usagi.
It's so painful.
And if there were any episode for the girls to get on the Mamo-rage train, this should have been the one. And yet we have that weird conversation in the next episode with Rei and Usagi about
Oh my
Mamo,
god, I have thoughts on that episode.
Yeah, I have very many notes on that. But this should have been the episode where, okay, in the girls' minds, he must have a reason for doing this. He would not be so cruel as to just do this to Usagi. But the fact that they see him do this, okay, now this is a step too far. Mm-hmm. This should have been the episode where Mako just came over and kicked him off the bike or something. But,
yeah. I don't get why he's just not telling the girls, or it doesn't have to be Usagi. It could be Rei or someone that he's been having these nightmares. There wasn't any vocalized consequences for if he shared that he was having these nightmares about him and Usagi for the future.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why he couldn't have just said something like that, or been like, oh, I've been getting these weird premonitions, and I think it's best if we stay away from each other for a while. He doesn't even have to go into it. He doesn't have to go into details. He could just be vague. But no. He decides to scoop up his best friend's little sister and cavort her around the town looking for Usagi just to make her jealous. Or, like, to get her off his back.
I like your sort of out for him, because out of anyone, Ray would be most likely to understand. If he went to her and said, I'm having these weird premonition dreams and I'm sort of seeing things, I'm worried that if I keep spending time with Usagi, that something bad will happen to her. If anyone would know what to do, or at least give him advice, it would be Ray. And again, he could just go to Usagi and say, I'm afraid if we spend time together, something bad will happen to you, so let's just distance ourselves. And if she says, well, I don't care, he could come back with, okay, well, if something does happen to you, think about how I would feel. Because I think this is like the one time when you could actually use that line, well, think about how I would feel, and it not come off as a jerky line.
Yeah.
And then, our Usagi is at least smart enough to, I think, understand, because our girl went through D-Point. She knows what it's like to have people hurt because of you. This could have been handled so much more simply. But drama's got a drama, I guess.
I guess. Also, how rich is Mamoru? He has a car. He has a motorcycle.
A dead parent inheritance. He must have invested very well. But
his own apartment.
Speaking of the bike... So I did want to talk about, it's never clear how Mamoru knows when to become Tuxedo Common. Because we've, I think, briefly talked about in past episodes, does he just know when Sailor Moon transforms? Does he know when she's in danger? Because there are some episodes that make it seem like, this episode in particular, he's asleep when Sailor Moon transforms. And she's in danger, like literal danger. Like there is a monster inside of her.
Yeah.
And he's still sleeping. It takes Luna going God knows how long across Tokyo to wake him up and say, you're the only one that can help Sailor Moon. So does this just, is it only when he's awake that he gets these little notifications that this is happening? And also, you brought up the bike. When he's driving his bike to wherever they are, first there's that really cool shot of him transforming into Tuxedo Common when he's jumping the bike and he just turns in it. Like, that's a pretty cool shot. I gotta give it to him. Where is Luna during this? Is she still at his apartment? Is she having to walk back? When I had a scooter, my helmet was underneath the seat. And I know he's driving a motorcycle, but is Luna in the helmet where you store the helmet? And then
just hanging on for dear life.
Yeah. And he drives up. He's so worried about her. She doesn't take Luna out of the storage compartment, and then he saves her, and then our love is, he says whatever line he says, and then gets back on the bike and goes. And when he stops wherever it is to have a good cry, oh, shoot, Luna, I'm so sorry. I forgot you were in there.
Yeah. And during that whole, when Usagi was in that enchanted sleep, the girls are trying to wake her up, and one of them slaps her.
Yeah, Ray slaps her. Funny. Which I thought out of Ray, again, out of all the girls, should be the one to be able to do something. I don't know how Shintoism works, but when she uses her Fuda on a monster, it usually stops them in their tracks. Like, they get paralyzed. Can she not do anything?
Yeah, and then I was also like, why isn't Ami taking out her supercomputer and scanning Usagi, and what can we do to help her? What are her vital signs? She's just not taking out her...
They all just say Sailor Moon
so out of
over
character.
And over again.
Yeah.
And see, that would have made this episode... I know they were going for love conquers all, the power of love. But I think it would have made that a much more powerful message if you had Ami getting her computer out, if you had Rei trying to exercise whatever is in her out. So yeah, that was pretty much all
Yeah,
of...
that was pretty much it. I was just annoyed at everyone in this episode. Well, maybe not everyone. I still love you, Mako. I'm still here. But yeah, I was just annoyed. A lot of Mamo-rage and no mood moment. So.
Yeah, I think the Deke dub gets sort of an honorary mood moment because when Luna sees Usagi at the refrigerator in the earlier part of the episode, she's like, if you eat all this, you're going to get fat. In the Deke dub, it's changed to, you're never going to fall asleep if you eat all this so close to bedtime. So, that was nice. And I think it ties in better to when she does get hypnotized, because then she's like, you were wrong, Luna, I am able to fall asleep. But, anyway. Yeah, this episode has some good moments, but the problem is it's a Mamoru and Usagi love-focused episode, and that is, it's not a great time in the season. I mean, it's never a great time to really have one of those episodes, but it's not a great time in this season to have one of those episodes.
Yeah. I just think if the girls were trying to do something to help combat whatever Usagi was going through with the monster, it would have raised the stakes even higher when Mamoru finally shows up and finally kisses her and revives her. Oh, we tried all of these things, but nothing is working. Yeah, that you are the only person that could help, you know? But
especially if, I don't think the show would have ever went this far, but if it had shown Ami failing, Rei failing, and then being at the end of the rope, and like as Mamoru shows up, having Jupiter say, well, what if I hit her with a bolt of lightning? No, you'll kill her. It's like we're thinking about doing potentially dangerous things that might kill her, but she's going to die anyway. And then Mamoru shows up and is able to wake her up. Adorable little Usagi on a tricycle. All of the little adorable
cute,
Usagi. So yeah, this episode had some good moments, but it is destined to fail because it is a Mamoru-centric episode.
Yeah. Yeah. But this next episode, my favorite himbo is back. Yuichiro, I love you.
This is the episode with my mood moment.
Oh, yeah, I do have I guess this could be a moment. It's more of like, is this a mood moment or is this duty?
I did have some spots in this episode where I thought Yuichiro protecting Rei may have been a mood moment, but ultimately, I just felt like, this is another thing. I really need to discuss just all the thoughts coming out. But the one mood moment I was definitely sure that I was like, this episode has one, is Rei has been injured. Koan is talking to Rubius. And Rei is sort of this... Well, Rei is kind of backseat watching the interaction between these two because they don't care about her. She's not a threat now. And she sees how Rubius is speaking to her, and she sees how devastated Koan is. And she also sees that Rubius is basically telling her, well, you're a failure. Here's a bomb. Make sure that you take yourself out. Everything here is taken out. And the girls show up. They take care of the bomb. But then she sees Koan just on the ground. There's nothing left. And my moon moment is her putting herself between Koan and Mako, but also reaching out to her both physically and also, emotionally, and saying, you have... let me find it in my notes. My notes are incredibly helpful. I just have... Oh my god, okay. I have so much other stuff. I don't have much on my actual moon moment. But her physically and emotionally reaching out to this person who 10 minutes ago was an enemy, who was going to blow up everything. But she has seen what has led this person to this moment. Even from that brief interaction between Rubius and Cohen, she can guess, what is happening. And in a way, Ray has sort of had this happen to her too, not in such a traumatic way, but the guy she cared about didn't love her. Mamoru did not love her. He didn't love her because he didn't love her, but also he started dating her best friend. But yeah, she's able to empathize with this a little bit. And Ray has always been the kind of person who is very independent. And so telling Cohen that it's not too late to start over. As long as you have yourself, you have enough to just start anew, to make yourself into the person that you want to see. As long as you have yourself, don't let anyone else tell you that you can't. So that was my moon moment for this episode.
Okay. Yeah, that was also my moon moment, but more specifically, it wasn't Ray being the physical barrier between the girls and Koan. It was more Ray trying to bolster Koan and being, you don't have to do this. You don't have to choose this. You can choose yourself. And that particular moment was my moon moment, but it was more like, is this moon moment, or is this the thing versus duty? Because when I was thinking about it, she turns from an enemy to someone who is a victim of Rubius, right? And so I wasn't sure if this could be Ray helping a victim and being, no, like, you are worth more than this. Don't listen to what this person has said, but you have yourself and you can choose yourself and be happy. And ultimately, I just kind of flip-flopped back and forth between giving it a moon moment and between deciding if this was a for duty kind of thing.
I can see where you're coming from in that this is sort of a duty thing, but I don't think... It doesn't strike me as a duty thing in the sense of it's a Sailor Scout duty. Mm-hmm. I think this is something... Because if you take out the scene, if, say, Ray was unconscious during this conversation between Rubius and Koan, and whether she wakes up to see Koan holding the bomb, or she wakes up when the other scouts appear and have destroyed the bomb, and Koan goes hardcore and really starts to attack them, I don't know if Ray would have reached out to her the way she did, because she would have just seen an enemy about to destroy her shrine where her family has lived for generations, or waking up to see this bad guy attacking her friends. And, Ray doesn't play that game. It doesn't matter that her leg is hurt. She'll burning mandala you. So I don't think it's duty because of that. I think Ray reached out because she understood this villain in that moment. She saw what was going on. It wasn't even her trying to keep Koan from being a bad guy. I mean, I don't think that comes into play at all. I think it's, look, whether you're bad or good, don't let this jerk think that you're nothing. Like, you still have yourself. You can still make yourself be whoever you want to be. So, I don't know. I didn't think it was a duty thing. I think if we saw it more, I would think it was maybe a duty thing. But the scouts never tried to cleanse any of the generals. The scouts...
you do have a point, yeah.
They didn't really have to cleanse Ale and On because they sort of did it themselves.
Right.
And it's a surprise when... I think it's Ray says, "Can you help her, Sailor Moon?"
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
And I think Usagi's like, "I don't know." And the cats are, "Yeah, try it." And they really don't know what's going to happen in this instance. I mean, if Cohen dies because of the cleansing, well, we tried. I mean, I don't know. This is completely new. I think if it was something they tried to do before, it would be more of a duty thing. Them trying to reach out to turn the villains good. But this is really the first time we see it. And it's kind of the last time I think we see it. Arguably, maybe not. But for the most part, this is the last time we see villains turn good.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, okay. You do have a point. Because I don't think Ray would have just done... Yeah. Because when you brought up the point of this hasn't really happened before, and they didn't really cleanse the generals, although I feel like they should have at least tried with Naru's... What's his name? Nephrite? Yeah. I feel like they should have at least tried with Nephrite. But yeah, this is the first time that they've been, let's try helping the villain out.
The next episode reinforces this as a moon moment because I think the episode with Mars and Koan is much better and much stronger than the episode with Mercury and Bertier. Because it feels like Koan goes through such... It just feels more emotional in her episode. I think it's a different type. This was the guy that she loved, and it turns out he doesn't love her, and he's actually terrible. But in Bertier, the love that she's looking for is more sister love. And so it's Koan that ends up reaching her. It's not the scout. So despite this being a Mercury-Bertier matchup, right. Mercury's not the one that reaches out to her. Like, she may have a couple lines about love makes you strong, or these people are my friends, I'm going to protect them. But really it's her sister that manages to reach her and to save her. And so I think that reinforces this episode in that it wasn't a Sailor Scout duty in the next episode that brought her back. Whereas in this one, it was Mars.
Yeah, it kind of also ties into my other potential moon moment in the next episode, but I'll wait until we get there.
All right.
But yeah, I think this is a moon moment.
Okay. Yay! But let's talk about the horrible advice.
Oh my God!
Is in this episode. Listeners, I have painstakingly quoted what they say, and I will be reading it out to you.
I couldn't even take down what they said.
How terrible it was. Let's set the scene. Koan knows that Rini, that Chibiusa is going to be at the shrine at some point. So she shows up as a makeup saleswoman and is talking to Usagi and Rei. And of course, she says, oh, you'll need these. You'll never look more beautiful. You'll get boyfriends. Oh, unless you already have boyfriends. And Rei says no. Usagi says yes. Rei says, don't listen to her. She's delusional. And so Rei's advice is they start talking about the situation. And Rei says, to love someone is to trust him. If you don't trust Mamoru anymore, you're no longer in a relationship. What's important is continuing to believe in him, no matter how coldly he treats you. If you do that, things will go back to the way they were before. Okay, let's start here. What? I'm on board with part of this. To love someone is to trust them.
Yes.
Yes. If you don't trust someone, you shouldn't be in a relationship with them.
Yes.
Yes. But then she says, what is important is continuing to believe in him, no matter how coldly he treats you.
Yeah, that part.
I don't know.
I was like, that's an abusive relationship.
I don't know
at that
if this
point
is like a weird translation thing or what, but I could see her meaning, we know Mamoru. We know he's a good guy, even though we really don't. Like, we know he's a good guy. We know that he would never be deliberately cruel. So if he's treating you coldly, then there has to be a reason behind it, and we have to trust that there is a reason behind it. I could see maybe that's what she means, but that's not what she says. And then if you do that, things will go back to the way before. before things that they were before. No. This is terrible advice. Ray, I know you never had a boyfriend before, but believe me when I say this is terrible advice. Please don't. No. Leave. So that was terrible. And then Koan says, you have it wrong. Being loved is what gives a woman's life meaning. Loving and having faith in him don't have much meaning. Continuing to love him even when he treats you coldly, don't be so pathetic. Okay, that sounds a little weird. I don't know if I left off a few words or...
Koan says something about self-love, and it should be a priority in a relationship, and your loving yourself above all things should be a thing in a relationship, and then the guy, which on board with
her speech. Yeah, most of her speech, it's like the first part of her speech is like the first part of Ray's speech, totally on board with it. But then she says,
and treating yourself well, and I was like, yes, you have to treat yourself well. It's a very learned thing to start loving yourself, and I was so on board with Koan's speech until she said some other...
Yeah, basically, you should love him even if he treats you coldly. Yeah. It falls into the same Ray trap, and
it's so ready.
Sorry. It's so weird because I was totally ready to have Ray give great advice, and Koan is the bad guy who has never really known healthy love and healthy relationships, to say the bad thing. But it's like a weird half and half with both of them.
When I heard the first part of Koan's response, I was like, wait a minute, am I going to be giving a moon moment to the villain? And then she kept talking, and I was like, oh, okay, never mind. Let me retract that.
Now, I do want to say, let me read you what the Deke dub says.
Oh, okay.
So this is Ray. You treated him badly, and he's smart enough not to stick around. When you apologize, he'll want to go out with you again. Better that you guys are on a break. You were way too involved. You ignored your friends and spent all your time with him. And Usagi says, I did, didn't I? Ray says, we forgive you. Usagi says, thank you. So this is almost perfect, except for like one little bit. The idea that Usagi has done something wrong and must apologize. That is the thing. Other than that, it's great. The idea of, maybe it's great you guys are on a break because you were super involved and we never got to see you. Like, your friends never got to see you. Again, it's almost perfect. But then it's, maybe you should just apologize. And then, of course, Koan, I don't really have, I just paraphrased what she said because I thought it was interesting. She says she's telling them sort of her daydream about Rubius, and she says, oh yeah, you need to totally apologize, and whatever you need to do to get back together with him, and then you'll get married, and then you'll rule the universe, and you'll become Queen of Crystal Tokyo. Or she doesn't say Queen of Crystal Tokyo, I think she just says Queen of Tokyo. And she realizes, oh no, I just told them kind of what my daydreams are for Rubius, but I think it's funny that is what happens with Usagi and Mamoru. They do get married, and they do basically rule the universe, and she's Queen of Crystal Tokyo. But yeah, these speeches, I would love to hear the audience's opinion on them. I also recommend, if you can find the episodes or find these scenes, watching them yourself, because I'm sure I tried to quote exactly, but it was a lot of writing, and
I wonder if it's just
like cramping at the end of it.
Mistranslation. I know when there are translated things for Tagalog or like Ilocano, there are words that they do mean that, but they have a different meaning in context. So I'm wondering if, because we don't know Japanese, that these translations aren't the most accurate that they could be. So I'm wondering if someone who understands Japanese or is like a native Japanese speaker, these interactions were different for them.
It's also, I found the characterization of Rubius very interesting, because in the Japanese version, he comes off as an absolute a-hole. And it's sort of frustrating to watch Koan be in love with him, think that he's in love with her after the way he treats her. Whereas Deek Dub Rubius is very good at manipulating all of the sisters and pretending to be basically nice guy Rubius, at the same time talking to himself and saying, I'm going to sacrifice to all of you because you're just pawns, and I'm going to take credit when we kill Chibiusa and help the war in the future by contaminating the crystal points here. And it was interesting because part of me likes that characterization better because it makes him a little bit more scary, because he's able to manipulate these women so easily. He's very good at it. But in the Japanese sub, I thought this is also scary in a way because there are people who are in relationships that from the outside seeing in, it's like, this is terrible. Why are these people together? You know, this person is abusive or just a terrible piece of trash named Mamo-rage. Seriously, from the outside looking in, you think this is terrible, but when you're in that relationship, it's much harder to see. Yeah. It's sort of that old adage that I don't think is actually true, but it's, if you put a frog in boiling water, it'll jump right out. But if you put it in cold water and gradually heat it up, it'll boil to death. Because it won't notice the changes until it's dead.
Right.
I don't think that's actually true. But I think it sort of applies for relationships. You get into a relationship with someone and, oh, this person's a great person. But over time, red flags that you would have caught if you had just come into the relationship now, you've been there, and so you're not seeing them. So I thought it was interesting that you have Rubius, who's, I guess he's not a gaslighter, he's just a manipulator in the Deke version. But he's also super abusive in the Japanese version. But I think both of these are real people, basically.
Yeah.
These are real types of people that exist in the world.
Yeah. I also thought it was interesting that I kind of saw a parallel between how Rubius was treating or talking to Koan, like the way Mamoru was kind of treating Usagi. No, I don't love you. I never actually loved you. Mamoru has said that to Usagi to get her off his back. And I was like, why is this a red flag for Rei when Mamoru has said this stuff to Usagi and she's still, go, Usagi?
That is a great point. I didn't think about that at all. That is so interesting. I wonder if it is because of the whole frog boiling water analogy. She's been there since the beginning. She has seen, especially them getting their memories back and them being in love, and now she's like, I've seen all that. I don't know why Mamoru is acting like this now, but he has to have a good reason, right?
Yeah, I don't know, I feel like if the roles were reversed, if Rei hadn't actually known Mamoru and heard... What did you send me?
So, when we finished your discussion, I sent you a screenshot of Zoisite's cameo in this episode.
Oh, hey! Oh my god, wait, when was this?
At the very beginning of the episode, when Koan runs into Yutiro, she's picking up her stuff off the ground, and she grabs the bag out of his hand, and there's, I don't know what you would call it, there's like an animation thing where it's, I really don't know what you would call it. It's almost like what are they, like onomatopoeias? You see shapes on the screen when she grabs the bag to emphasize the force or her anger or whatever. Right, yeah. And when I saw this, I was like, something popped up on the screen. I'm like, what was that? And so I went back frame by frame, and for some reason, there's this tiny little chibi Zoisite cameo.
That's so cute. Oh, that's adorable. I would not have caught that. Oh my god, that's so cute. Oh, I miss him.
I like the animators. This and Mako Seijiro food episode where the little girl runs by and she has... It's like super quick. She has this little Sailor Moon doll on her bag. I'll put this screenshot in the show notes, listeners, so you can see it as well. See adorable chibi Zoisite. But I'm sorry. Finish what you're saying.
I was just saying. I wonder what would have happened if Rei hadn't been there for the beginning and was just introduced to Mamoru as Usagi's boyfriend, and wait a minute, why are you treating my friend this badly? Usagi, leave him. Like, there's no point in being in this relationship.
I think if Rei joined much later, after they'd gotten their memories back, or maybe even this season, I think she and Usagi would have this combative relationship. It would be like what they had in the beginning. Because they still have that now, but I think they're more... You see a lot more of their friendship come through. I think it would have made her become friends with Usagi more quickly. If Rei had seen how Mamoru was treating Usagi and how much pain Usagi was in, I think it would have made them friends quicker, because Rei would have thought, why are you letting this jerk treat you like this? Can you not see that this is horrible? So I think it actually would have made them friends quicker. And I think Rei would have a much shorter tolerance for Mamoru in the future if this is when she had entered the scene.
Because Rei doesn't take anything from anyone, and I'm just surprised that she's being this supportive when she's clearly seeing her friend be hurt by the same guy over and over again.
So, before we move on to the next episode, did you want to talk about Ichiro in this episode?
Oh, I just love him. He's my favorite.
Because he does say some really great stuff. He does protect Rei, and then Rei protects him, and Koan doesn't understand, and she says something like, if you don't love him, why are you protecting him? Like, why are you even giving him the time of day? And Rei says, I'm respecting his sincerity. I know that he has feelings for me, in some fashion, and I'm going to respect that. I'm not going to, just let him get fried because we have no connection, no real emotional connection. I think this is also a duty thing. Innocent civilian, even though they have a relationship to Rei, it's like protecting someone. I don't know, some of his stuff, that moment, and in the Deke version, Koan says sort of the same thing. Why are you protecting her? It's obvious she doesn't care for you.
Right, yeah.
She does nothing but be mean to you. And Chad says, because Chad is his name in the Deke version, he says it's what's on the inside that counts. Which, is kind of the biggest moon moment of all, right? It's, you can apply it in so many different ways. And the idea that lovable himbo Chad,
I love him,
is able to see that Rei is, despite the caustic attitude she displays towards him, he knows that she's good on the inside. And that's why he's going to protect her. Yeah, I guess give Chad an honorary Chad / Yuichiro, we can give him an honorary moment.
And there was a moment where when Koan, as the cosmetics person, was asking Usagi and Rei if they had someone, and Rei was like, kind of. So I was like, Yuichiro? Do you have the feelings for Yuichiro? I hope so. I ship them.
So, really the last thing before we move on to this episode. Rubius, I didn't write down the exact quote because it blew me away and I couldn't, I was just writing down so much. Rubius calls Koan a simp in the Deke version.
What?
So, yeah, there's that.
Wow.
And the thing is, I wanted to screenshot it, but it's the Deke version, and I don't have closed captions for the Deke versions. Because it would appear that my Deke versions are bootleg, which little Gisela didn't know when she bought them off of eBay.
A rebel.
But Ubius does call Koan a simp for him. So, episode 71.
This last episode.
I have so many notes. Do you remember all of the notes that I showed you for 70? This is what I have for 71. Like, it's so short.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't really have too much to say about this episode. It basically just a chess episode where Ami and Berthier are rivals. It gave me the Queen's Gambit vibes.
So this episode again, like I said, I think the Koan one was much stronger, but the connection between Ray and Koan was just it was so, especially with Koan, the way she attacks the scouts, like physically attacks them, it's so brutal, and she's in so much pain, and it was just so much more satisfying than Berthier freezing herself and the room.
Yeah.
I wish it had been a little bit more brutal, because you see chunks of ice hit Koan.
Yeah.
I wish there had been a lot more of that. Not just her, but all of the scouts. The scouts are still trying to stop her.
Yeah.
But have them start to freeze or get thrown up against the wall because of a huge chunk of ice or something. But Koan is the one that just pushes through.
Yeah.
And, maybe have someone get knocked out. Mako or Minako or something has to sort of protect them, and so they can't move forward. And have it be Koan that really pushes through.
Yeah. I was considering, okay, so this was another one of my is this a moon moment? Mm-hmm. Because there's Berthier and she's having all this rage. She's fighting Ami, fighting the girls. And Koan is, no, you don't have to do that. You are my sister, and I want to show you my love for you. At this point, I'm guessing that, because in the beginning, the Spectre sisters and Rubius were saying, why would Koan give up why would she want to be a normal human? So I'm guessing at this point, Koan is going into this whole tantrum that Berthier is enacting with nothing up her sleeve, nothing to defend her, nothing to stop her from being hurt from these attacks, because she's a normal human being now. And so my thought process was like, is this a moon moment that Koan, she does not have to be part of this battle. She does not have to say these things to try to calm Berthier down. But she's still there, she's still helping her, and she still wants Berthier, despite being evil and knowing that what she's doing, what her agenda is, she's still saying, oh, you don't have to do that. You don't have to be evil. You can be a normal human like me and experience love. I was kind of going back and forth between, is this something that should be a moon moment? Because I feel like, because Koan gave up all her powers, she's basically helpless against Berthier's attacks. But also, I don't know if this is a moon moment, because Berthier could have said something in the beginning, because I'm guessing that they hang out now. So maybe I wasn't sure. Like, what do you think?
For the record, I know I'm definitely remembering the Deke version. I don't know if I'm remembering the Japanese version correctly. But there is an episode down the line where one of the Spectre sisters says, we'd like to help, but we don't have our powers anymore. So I think your interpretation is correct in that they do not have power. Once they become human, they don't have powers anymore.
Because I'd operated under, maybe Koan doesn't have her memories of her life before she became human. And so I was like, okay, maybe that adds to it. Maybe she doesn't have all her memories. But it seemed like she did, because she immediately recognized her sister. So it's like, I don't know what this is.
I think the problem is that it is so close to being a moon moment. Because she is putting herself in harm's way to try to protect her sister, to bring her sister back. Because she has been in the position that her sister is in.
Exactly.
It's not romantic love that Berthier is dealing with, but it's more the lack of sisterly love and affection. I think it's so close to being a moon moment, but it just felt like in the Koan episode, it was integrated better. Or maybe more. Because I guess we do have that bit at the beginning where Berthier is talking with her other two sisters. I think it's after her initial fight with Mercury in the tower. and they're discussing it, and then when they show up, they end up leaving when Tuxedo Common shows up and the girls escape and everything. It didn't feel like it was as devastating to her as Cohen's episode was. So I think that might be part of the reason why we're having trouble with calling this a moon moment. It doesn't feel like she's freezing everyone and herself, but it doesn't feel like there's as much of a fight to save her as there was with Cohen. Because first they had to stop the bomb from blowing up, and then Cohen physically attacked them, and Ray literally had to put herself between Kodo and Cohen, and then had to bring her back from the brink, basically. And we don't really get that in this episode. We have Cohen getting hit a bunch with ice, but it doesn't necessarily slow her down all that much. And it doesn't feel as devastating to have the sisters disregard Bertier as it does to have Rubius tell Koan, kill yourself because you're useless. So, I don't know. I think that's why we're having trouble with this. We can always throw it to the audience.
Right. I think maybe at least a mini moon moment I would give it.
I'd definitely give it a mini moon moment, because I do love the fact that it's not the scouts that bring her back. It's Cohen.
Mm-hmm. And it's all of these years that's all Cohen has known. And it takes a lot for a person to turn over a new leaf. And the fact that she's turned over her own life and she wants to do the same thing for her sister, who probably has treated her very poorly in the past. So I don't know.
There's a really great line in the deep dub where Cohen has successfully talked down Bertier, and they're hugging, and it's before Sailor Moon cleanses her, and Bertier says, "Why are you crying? Are you in pain?" And Cohen says, "No, they're just tears of joy." And I think that is an incredible dialogue between them, because they don't know any other kind of tear but pain and suffering. They don't know what it's like to be so happy that you'll cry. And now they will have this chance. So I really loved that line. I definitely had to bring it up.
But, other than that, just... I didn't have anything. My notes were just, oh my god, is everyone revealing their secret identities?
Ami's supposed to be the smart one.
Yeah, she's supposed to be
second
smart.
time she's done it. All she had to do was be sneaky and not throw the door open where Bertier was doing stuff, and just transform and run in there. Ami is supposed to be the smart one. That's literally the only thing she has. And she just reveals her identity all over the place. But it is interesting because now the Spectre sisters know who the scouts are. And we never really see the Spectre sisters after this arc. I don't think so. And I love how you get to see them interact. It's not like...
I love that, yeah.
Yeah, it's in the first episode, she goes to say, you see her at the end with Ray. In this episode, they're at Usagi's house.
Yeah.
In her
playing
room.
chess.
Yeah. I love it, although that brings up the question, what's going on with these women? They're not from this time. They have no social security cards. They have probably don't have any kind of education. How are they going to find a place to live? I think we had this conversation with Nephrite, if he had been turned good. But how are they setting these girls up? I could see Ray letting them stay at the temple for a bit. But it's also, that particular episode, Ray is still injured. And so is Yuichiro. So it can't have been that long. And yet, it seems like Koan is coming to visit them. So she's already found a place to live.
Yeah, and I was thinking, oh, maybe in the episode Berthier hypnotizes the receptionist, but they don't have any more powers once they become human. So what are they doing? Are they just sweet talking the landlords? Like, what is happening?
Yeah, especially in Tokyo. Like, how expensive is it to live in Tokyo? It's one of those amazing questions that animes just sort of hand wave away. Mamoru is so loaded. Maybe he gave them a loan.
You just bought them an apartment complex and just like, okay, here, you could just live here. But yeah, that's all I have for this episode. Well, I guess, yeah, that's it. Our next episode will cover episodes 72 to 75. Check out our social media on Twitter and Instagram at MoonMomentPod. Don't forget to check out our website at moonmomentpodcast.com. There you'll find show notes and transcripts of every episode.
Let us know what your moon moment musings are. We would love to hear from you. Please tell us. Send us fan art. Tell us your love for the Spectre Sisters. Come on.
Slide into our DMs.
Some of the greatest Sailor Moon villains of all time. And you might just get a shout out. So if you want to support the podcast, please rate, review, share, subscribe. Spotify just recently added ratings to their podcast. So please give us some ratings on there, all of our Spotify listeners, because all of this stuff helps Moon Moment stay afloat amidst the vast ocean of podcasts.
Yes, please, Usa, get over here. This time it wasn't a space pun. Get over here. Our DMs are open. We would love to hear from you.
Yep. I'm Drusilla.
And I'm Gilsey. So we'll see you, Moon. Bye.
Bye.